Now, one of the things, you've played with some amazing musicians over the years. And I think a lot of it in life, with friendships and everything else, it's like we have these periods in life where we may hang out with somebody for 2 years straight, and you don't see them for a while, and then you reconnect. And I mean, you and I are kind of like that. Some other friends, it's just like chapters.
Sure.
So it's cool. Like over the years, you've had these different chapters. You played with different musicians, and you may have a few years you play with other people, and then you come back. Yep. I mean, David is one example of that.
Yep.
And it's just, it's part of one of the interesting things of life when we're at a period. Just all these people that are part of it. And I just wanted to touch upon some of those guys, just because I think they're an important part of that journey, and we have so many mutual friends. Let's talk about Jim Peters. I know at one point we talked about folk. You did the Reserve Project,
sure,
which is different than a lot of things you've done, and really cool. Just talk about what Jim has, his influences, just that experience with him. He's just such a great dude and just such an amazing musician.
Well, Jim and I have a very dynamic relationship, especially history. I should say a dynamic history. And he's like a brother to me, and he's definitely like a musical soulmate. And he really is. Nice. Because when we met through a mutual friend, Dan Friedman, who was representing him when he was in a band called 7 Days in Colombia, and they were a jam band that was doing really well. They were about to get signed, and then they got all their equipment stolen.
Oh.
And I don't know what happened. There was already something going on, whatever.
Sure.
But he ended up moving.
That's a straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, he was 21, and he moved back to St. Louis, and he was living temporarily in his mom's basement. And so Dan goes, "Hey man, I was looking for a guitar player because I had just moved. This is when I had moved. Basically, I was done with music. After stepping to my place, the band had broken up. I was getting sued. I had no money to my name. I was about to
didn't know that story.
Yeah, I was about to get divorced. And man. David Karns and I, we were about to open up with a whole band for Acoustic Hookah. Was a pretty well-known jam band out of Columbus, Ohio, and we were about to play Newport, which is where like U2 had played. I mean, it was a big thing.
Yeah.
And then we show up, and it was just David and me. And the guys go, "Dude, we hired the whole band." I'm like, "There's no band. It's just David and myself." But we rocked it out. And so that was it. That was after that. I told David, I got to move. I have only $300 to my name. I already had a ticket to Spain because I had it so I moved. And so when I was in Spain, I was done, and I was writing the song "Beautiful."
That's one of my all-time favorites.
So simultaneously, David calls me up, say, "Hey man, I found a drummer, and you got to come back. Let's start this over."
Okay.
So we did. So I came back.
And that was Moises?
That was Moises.
Okay.
So we were the trio.
Yeah.
So Dan Friedman goes, "Man, I got a guitar player for you." So I go to the basement, and I go to this guy's out there, don't even know. Mom opens the door, and Jim Peters is downstairs in the basement. And we meet, and we just both grabbed 2 acoustic guitars. And it was like love at first sight. It really was. Musically, it was just, we both were like, there's something. And we just connected. I don't know. It was real incredible. Yeah. So when that happened, we decided we were going to audition. I mean, even though in my heart, I'm like, this is the guy. But we had this other guy who sounded just like, it was just like the Police. I mean, he was like, it was just, but he was good. So Jim Peters was waiting just right there. He was watching. He was like we were in this loft in downtown.
Yeah, that's where we shot that
so he's in the
documentary video.
He's in the couch just waiting. Okay. He's listening to this other guy, and we get Jim, and Jim just and we kind of finished, and he leaves after 20 minutes, and we're going to talk about this real quick. And Moises flat out goes, I mean, he's new. He goes, "Dude, you got to get Jim." And David was, a little bit more reserved, but he's like, "Yeah, I think Jim," so and I already knew. I was like, "Yeah, I want to work with Jim," because we were really connected. Mm-hmm. So Jim and I we just really connected, and then we did the video, and he was still new to the band and so forth. So things were really going well. Well, 6 months into it, I decided to have a band meeting because even though it was still Javier Mendoza band, it was kind of like Jim says, I thought it was going to be a dictatorship. I was really open to input, but I still was like, it's still
your name.
It's my band. It's my band.
Definitely.
So, but I wanted to have a meeting to have an input. And so we start talking about it. And Jim's comment was, "Yeah, man, I think we need to change the name of the band." He goes, I don't think he would mind me telling you this story because it's just, he goes, yeah, I think your name's pretty much done. And there's something like it.
Fast forward, you're like, Hobo Cane?
I'm paraphrasing, but he kind of like that. And it really, I'm like, we kind of didn't hit it off. And so, I'm like, I don't think this is going to work. So, it's always, this is a gray area. He says he quit. I say I fired him. So we left it at that. But to this day, I still remember we both still had a pending show, right? And it was an acoustic show where it was only going to be him and myself in Chicago, and we drove separately.
Wow!
And we played the show. We rocked it out, and then we got in the cars and we drove back from Chicago separately. And so Jim left the band. He played with some really cool soul funk band, and we did then live at Blueberry Hill, and we did it
which is amazing.
Right, and we did it without him. We did it with Steve Scott on guitar, and actually Moises was also kind of left, like he was like he just didn't like the fact that that happened. And he didn't like conflict, so he left. So I did that album, that Live at Blueberry Hill, and then I had some new songs. So I said to David, let's call Moises, let's do this, which was Matter of Time.
Matter of Time, yeah.
So during Matter of Time, we were recording it, it was going to be a trio. So then I go, man, I hear guitar. I hear another guitar. Yeah. And so one day I go ahead and, call Jim. And I'm like, hey, Jim, man, can we talk? And he was playing a show in some place in U City, and we all four of us got together and said, hey, I know I'm not asking you to be in the band, and I know you're but will you come into the studio and do a song? I need a guitar in this song. It's like, cool, man. It's cool. And we were good. We were like,
that's great.
I had actually gone and seen him with his other project, so I think he liked that we were connecting, and we were friends.
Sometimes with working, like you said, your relationship, with there's that love there.
Sure.
But you're like, okay, sometimes maybe some people shouldn't work together.
And we were like, and he has really strong. I mean, he had come from being the leader of his band,
sure.
So it was like
that's tough.
So we were. So basically, he was. So we hadn't known each other that long either. So anyways, he comes to the studio and he lays guitar on one song, and then I go, hey Jim, do you mind laying down one more song? He goes, no, man. And there was this energy. We were like, it was just like if everything was forgotten. And so, he ended up laying down guitar to all 11 songs. Yes. And the band was back.
Yeah. Yeah, because the premiere of that was at Mississippi Nights.
Sure.
Yeah, I remember that show. That was a fun show.
And so we basically, became, the band was doing really well. We actually opened up for Los Lobos, and we were doing, things were happening.
Yeah.
But then things were not just, I just think Jim really wanted to do his own thing. I really did. And so we talked it out. We played in Chicago, and he wanted to start a band called the Upright Animals, and Moises wanted to start that with him. And I just felt things were not gelling. David wasn't. David was like, man, we got to keep this going. He really wanted to. So anyways, I kind of dismantled officially the band. David was pissed off, which I don't blame him. I mean, he was just angry because he put in a lot of time, and so he moved. He didn't move to Nashville, but he started with a different band, and he went his own way. And I guess to interlaced into David Karns, which he's definitely like my brother, and Jim and I we've been still playing. In fact, we're playing November 1st here in town.
Yeah,
and he's going to be playing with the band, and we're great friends, and we've played since. But it's just a matter of like how I think things are the way they should be, especially with Jim and I. He's just too much of a leader in his own and and with the Reserve, I think it was a great connection because we with acoustic guitars have a great complement.
Yeah,
but I moved to Nashville. He was in St. Louis.
Sure.
It was hard to keep that.
Yeah, definitely.
And David Karns, just to quickly fin it. So David Karns then moved on and he became really what he should have been, this great touring artist with great people. I always felt that. I'm like, man, why you should go on, do other things, and he really was loyal to the band. And
he's a very loyal guy, and sometimes with his, we won't name names, but another experience he had when the band didn't work out, which was, I think, the catalyst for him moving to Nashville.
Sure.
And it was sometimes we need that.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, he's just killing it in Nashville.
Sure.
And then he has the, he just released Blind.
He's becoming an art. He's finally become an artist himself, which is it's great. So he and I are playing together again a lot. I mean, we see each other. We live really close to each other now, like 20 minutes away from each other. And it's funny how we're about actually Moises. We're so the band's in a way we're still all connected.
It's funny how time works.
Yeah, and those are all three musicians are musicians that, as you started the question, that are really have influenced me. But I've played with so many great ones.